do things smarter. It is critically important that the mayor of the city of St. Paul have a good working relationship with the superintendent of the St. Paul School District.
Thank you. Eva Ng, same question.
Yes, I said, is there a way that we can kind of jointly mow, put together a service to mow lawns so we don't have 6 or 7 different groups of people mowing lawns, that there would be one group. We're looking at how we share our buildings. If you look at the Jimmy Lee Rec Center, one of the key components was a combination of Central High School being able to use the facilities in Jimmy Lee. So we're trying to figure out more partnerships. We are trying to figure out how to do things smarter. It is critically important that the mayor of the city of St. Paul have a good working relationship with the superintendent of the St. Paul School District.
Thank you. Eva Ng, same question.
The most important thing a mayor can do is provide guidelines to the school board and to the superintendent. And you can provide guidelines by getting input from the people. Again, this is where the listening program is so very important. So this is one of those topics on the forum. I will hear from the constituents and they will tell me what they would like to see out of the school board. And from those sentiments, we can distill out guidelines for the school board and for the superintendent. And then another thing we ought to look at is on the cash side. There are a lot of properties owned by the school board that are cash drains. That means there are properties that are non-performing and they're also requiring maintenance. We have to give them guidelines physically to deal with those properties. And so this is another area we can help the schools become more efficient, not just in teaching, but also in cash performance and in fiscal performance to the citizens.
Thank you. Each of you this evening have already mentioned a number of partnerships, and the word partnership has been bandied about quite broadly in recent days. What kind of cross-sector partnerships do you see that need to be strengthened for the benefit of the city and the region? Please use examples of, shining examples of existing programs or changes that you would like to see that have not ever been addressed before. Eva Ng, if you would be the first to address the question of cross-sector partnerships and their ability to strengthen our city.
Yes, this is one of those things that I wanted to do. As mayor, I should be the convener of resources, especially with the charitable resources from the private sector, from religious-based entities, with people who, foundations, whatever it is, that I need to be a person who marshals all those resources together. Because a lot of these people are doing stuff on their own. Somebody's got a program here, they got a program there, and they're in disparate places. This is one person who can be a hub and pull all these resources together so they're talking to each other, so they can become a more effective force to elevate the human potential here in St. Paul. For instance, there are people who do not speak English. The new Americans who come and they are reliant on doing jobs that only their hands can do because they're not speaking English yet. And I think there are people who want to provide those resources, and we need to be able to pull that together and teach that. And in private sector, they want a guy to do a particular something, and yet they're missing a small skill, like they don't know how to use Excel. My gosh, we could just use those downtown office space vacancies, and at night conduct a course on Excel. And then this way, we're going to expand the workforce that's available. We need to actualize the human potential here in St. Paul. If the mayor is so good at marshaling these resources, we can really do a good job with that.
Thank you. Chris Coleman, same question.
Well, I absolutely think that those kind of partnerships are critical to the success of the city of St. Paul. The fact of the matter is we can't do everything on our own. Government is not the only answer to problems. They're an important part. Government is an important part of the fabric of the society. It's an important part of solving problems, but it can't do it alone. It has to do it in partnerships. We have numerous examples of where we have already done that. I look at the Central Corridor. The Central Corridor Partnership has brought together 12 different foundations. 12 different foundations to try to figure out how they could help shape that corridor, to improve people's lives, to look at issues from affordable housing to job creation, to making sure transportation needs are met in that community. It's been an extremely, just an unbelievable thing, to the point where we put together the partnership, and they said, we'll let you know if we need your help. We'll get back to you. And so we gave birth to it, we fostered it, and now it's out doing some incredible things. One of the key partnerships I think going forward that's going to be critically important is the partnership in the business community with the Capital City Partnership, with the foundation community, to really figure out how we do economic development better and stronger in the city of St. Paul. One of the things that we've done is we have looked at other cities for models. It's very clear that we need an organization like Capital City Partnership to take the lead, to have the City of St. Paul use its resources, the Port Authority to use its resources, the Chamber of Commerce to use its resources, all of us pulling together for economic development. That's an important partnership that we are beginning to more fully develop.
Thank you. Changing topics again, our audience has produced a number of questions asking our candidates about their perspective on the environmental responsibility of the City of St. Paul. Chris Coleman, if you would please be the first to address the question, and please address your perspective on the value versus the cost of recycling, encouraging your citizens to do it and offering the opportunities to do it. First, Chris Coleman.
Well, I think one of the key things that we've been able to do in the City of St. Paul is really make St. Paul a leader on environmental initiatives across this country. We've been lagging on that for many, many years. One of the first things I did when I came into office was to sign the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement that was signed by hundreds of mayors across the country that hadn't been signed by the City of St. Paul's mayor. And it was unfortunate because we were already doing so much of that. The work that we've done with District Energy to really create an efficient heating system for downtown that uses biomass to be able to fuel that plant is an incredible example. It's known worldwide, and yet we weren't taking, I guess, enough kind of recognizing within our own walls what we were doing. We put together a sustainability coordinator in the City of St. Paul. What that has allowed us to do is to look at every building in the city, including this one, including every rec center, every library, every building in the Public Works Department, to figure out how we can invest some money up front so that we can save money in the long run. We'll be saving millions of dollars in energy costs because we're investing up front some resources to retrofit those buildings so that they're more efficient, energy efficient. The recycling program in the City of St. Paul has been critically important. Unfortunately, it's difficult right now because the cost of the recycled goods, there's not much of a market for it because of the economic recession, but we will continue to sustain that. Again, St. Paul has been a long-term leader in environmental issues, and we were slipping on that. We have restored that position.
Thank you. Eva Ng, if you'd be the first to address the next question.
Oh, I haven't addressed this one.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Same question.
You invite me.
Please address the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Well, did you guys know I'm an environmental health and safety coordinator for Texaco? So I understand all those laws, and we can do a lot of those things very sensibly without wasting a lot of money. Let me tell you a story real quick. When I went to Seattle, that plant was out of date 50 years, and we were a Superfund site, so I've seen everything: asbestos, soil remediation, stormwater release, all of that. You know, when I got there, we had 9 years negotiating a stormwater discharge permit. 9 lawyers were involved, 9 managers were involved. And they gave me a pile of paper this thick. They said, here are all the calculations, go to it. And, you know, I looked at all the calculations and I said, my gosh, this is a bunch of hooey. You know, they spent all this much money and cannot get a stormwater discharge permit. So I just made 2 phone calls down to Olympia. And I spoke with a gal named Jean Tran. She's also a chemical engineer. And she and I spoke, and I said, could I come down and see you, Jean? She goes, sure. And I asked her, what do you require of us in order to get this permit? She goes, well, here's the list of requirements. You could not exceed so many parts per million of this and that. And she gave me the whole list. I said, okay, we could do that. And I said, well, how do you want us to do it? She goes, I don't know, you tell me. So I said, how about this? We'll go ahead and test all water that we're releasing once a week. And if we meet these requirements that you gave me, could I, therefore, go to once-a-month testing? She goes, yeah, let's do that. And then if we do that, then if I did that for 6 months and we did it for a year, could I then get a permit? She goes, yes, you can get the permit. I didn't spend a dime. I spent 2 road trips down to Olympia, and we got that solved.
Thank you,
We can
Eva.
do a lot of this kind of thing for the city.
Thank you, Eva. Your time has expired. And now, if you would please be the first to address the next question. Thanks so much. The audience members this evening would like to know more about what each of you brings to the business relationships, business partnerships through your experience here in St. Paul to strengthen businesses in St. Paul. Eva, if you'd be the first to address the question.
Repeat that question for me, please.
The audience members tonight are interested to know about your previous business experience, what experiences you've had working with other businesses, and what you will bring from that experience to the city of St. Paul.
I have 30 years of experience in the private sector, and 20 of them with Fortune 100 companies. And in those 20 years, I spent 10 years as a presidential fast tracker, troubleshooter, internal consultant for Texaco. And I got into that position because I was doing stuff that nobody else knew how to do. When nobody knew how to operate laptops, I was the first to embrace the DOS system. I was one of the first people to set up local area networks, and I learned how to set up wide area networks by going to a library and finding out overnight and then coming back and setting it up. So they identify me as a fast tracker. So anytime there's a department that has trouble, they pretty much throw me in, and I had to figure out everything on my own. And in about 2.5 to 3 years, I've identified the problems, implemented the systems, documented everything, trained somebody else in, and left and gone to something else. And then I came out of Texaco, and for 10 years I turned small to mid-sized businesses around. They're roughly 2 to 20 million in size. I mean, this is fiscal, this is manufacturing, marketing, personnel, on and on and on. And I did that for 10 years. And then also a CEO of a small business here in Eagan. And we went through every single struggle that you could possibly have gone through, because manufacturing has been down 80 to 90% in the United States in the last 10 years. And we managed to double our volume. So I think I can speak to the experience here.
Thank you. Chris Coleman, same question.
One of the things that I've been able to do over the last 4 years is to really listen to the business community, to understand what their priorities were, and to help achieve those priorities. When I came into office, one of the #1 priorities of the Chamber of Commerce was to get a flood wall protection for home and field. It was critically important to businesses like Travelers. It was critically important to Gander Mountain, that had actually chosen to come into downtown St. Paul because of the proximity to that airport. It is critically important to 3M and other companies. That project had been stalled out for 4 years. The previous mayor couldn't get it done because he was at loggerheads with the city council. They couldn't address the environmental concerns at the same time they were addressing the business concerns. We got together, we sat down in a room, we addressed the concerns, and we got that project done. The second priority of the Chamber of Commerce is the light rail line. The #1 priority of the Chamber of Commerce for decades in the city of St. Paul was to get that light rail line built. We're moving it forward. We're finally getting it done after 30 years worth of discussion. We have continued to work with the Chamber of Commerce and other businesses to try to advance high-speed rail to make sure that St. Paul is the center of transportation in the East Metro area. We worked through big issues and small issues. We worked through difficult challenges around trying to get Trader Joe's built. A very, very difficult challenge for the business community. Critically important. We work with businesses to get that done. Lifetime Fitness was one of those things that just seemed like such a simple thing that a business like Lifetime Fitness, or Anytime Fitness rather, those 24-hour fitness centers couldn't open up in the city of St. Paul because of an oddity in the law. We worked with the business community to change that, and we got it done. We have very, very good relationships with the business community.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all of our audience members for the submission of the wonderful questions this evening. And I would now like to allow our candidates to move forward with their closing statements. Each candidate will be permitted 2 minutes for their closing statements. And based on the drawing earlier this evening, Chris Coleman, if you'd be the first to address your closing statement.
Well, again, I want to thank the league, and I want to thank Eva for her participation in the debate tonight. The only thing that we were missing was I wish I would have had a little foot heater here, because it is freezing up here. Dying. You know, I spent a lot of time talking about some of the big things, the things that you see in the paper, the 500 jobs that we saved at Rock 10, the movement that we have on light rail line, the flood wall down in Coleman Field, Crave, Microsoft, all those things. We spent a lot of time talking about those because in some ways that's what people know about and that's what they want to hear. But the job of mayor over the last 4 years has really been kind of surprising to me in some ways. And the most surprising aspect of it is what you can do for people that you meet. What you can do for an individual who just needs some assistance and a little direction to figure out how they can avoid a foreclosure. What you can do when you go to a high school to proclaim a day for a young girl struggling with cancer. What you can do to a young boy or for a young boy where he's at a crossroads in his life. The best example of that was a couple of years ago. I was coming out of my office, and as I was walking through the entranceway, there was a young man standing with his father. And that young man had been told to go home that day from school because he had gotten in a fight. And his dad took him around to different places in the city where kids were hanging out and they were up to no good. And then he brought him down to the mayor's office. He was trying to convey to his son there were two paths that he could choose. So I brought the child into the office. I had him sit in the mayor's seat. I had him start talking about what it would be like to be mayor. And at the end of that visit, that child walked away, clearly understanding that he had a better option than the one that he had been choosing. You can have a tremendous impact as mayor of the city of St. Paul. I think that I have. But sometimes it's the impact that you don't see that's the most important. I've been proud to be mayor of the city. I ask for your support.
Thank you. Eva Ng, your closing remarks.
Thanks to the League for putting this nice forum together. I really appreciate it. It's very well run. And thank you, Mayor Coleman, for coming. I appreciate you for humoring me on at least one of the 70 days, right? In closing, citizens of St. Paul, we face a time of economic uncertainty. Unemployment rates approaching 10%, businesses fleeing, and residents leaving. As a result, we have nearly 30% office space vacancies downtown, an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 foreclosed or abandoned homes, and a much heavier tax fee burden on each resident and commercial entity. I am running for mayor of St. Paul because I believe that my experience over the past 30 years in turning around difficult situations, making the most out of every dollar, and influencing others to right the ship is exactly what St. Paul needs at this specific time in our history, in the mayor's office. We must pull St. Paul out of this downward spiral by first freezing the property tax rate and fee increases, followed by finding ways to reduce them. We then have to create jobs. We have to also ensure that our neighborhoods are safe and secure. You are dealing with an incumbent who has already mentally checked out of the mayor's office since March of 2009 and has been running for governor or lieutenant governor on your payroll. There's a lot of work waiting to be done for the people, and we need a full-time mayor. Someone like me who has no other agenda than to serve the people of St. Paul with all my heart, all my might, and all that I am. On November 3rd, I ask for your support and your vote. My website is evaformayor.com. Thanks so much for coming. I appreciate you.
Candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters, and the sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement of the sponsorship of either of your candidates. Especially thanks to the audience. I know it's so hard to sit on your hands when we're talking about these exciting topics. I really appreciate the respect that you showed your candidates this evening. A special thanks to the Highland Park Library and Rec Center for allowing us to use this beautiful facility this evening, and a particular thank you to candidates Chris Coleman and Eva Ng. These candidates are serving the community by their willingness to participate in the democratic process by running for office, and I'd like to show my appreciation for them as well. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for recording that. Welcome.